A shocking handwritten confession from King Charles has been leaked, and it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about Princess Diana's death. The emotional, guilt-ridden words reveal regret, warnings ignored, and a silence that now feels damning. This isn't just personal. It's a royal scandal, decades in the making. The leak that rocked the palace. It was supposed to stay buried forever, but just days ago, a private confession, reportedly written in King Charles's own hand, was leaked to the press, and it's already shaking Buckingham Palace to its core. According to sources close to the royal household, the leak involved a personal journal entry, allegedly penned by Charles in 1997, just weeks after Princess Diana's death. The contents? A raw, emotional admission that's already rewriting the official narrative surrounding the most devastating royal tragedy of our time. There are things I should have stopped. I didn't. There's blood on my hands. That line alone is enough to shift everything. And it has. The source of the leak? Still unknown. But whispers point to a former palace aide, someone with deep access to the late Queen's private records, who is now believed to be cooperating with journalists overseas. The leak reportedly emerged through a German investigative outlet, which published partial transcripts before they were swiftly removed. Too late. Screenshots flooded the internet within hours. The palace scrambled. Within 3 hours, Royal Communications issued a vague statement calling the document inauthentic and taken wildly out of context. But behind closed doors, it was clear. They weren't ready. Not for this, not for a direct link between Charles's own words and Diana's tragic death. Insiders say the king was notified while at Balmoral and immediately canceled scheduled meetings. Senior advisors were called in. Aides reportedly confiscated work phones from junior staff. Damage control wasn't just urgent, it was desperate. Because the leak doesn't just bring back grief, it brings back questions. And worse, blame. For over 2 decades, Diana's death was treated as a tragic accident. But now, the king's own words suggest something else. Guilt, omission, and the possibility that he knew more than he ever let on. And when you read the words in full, it only gets darker. The confession in his own words. It's not a statement. It's not an official speech. It's not even addressed to anyone. The confession is raw, private, and clearly never meant for public eyes. But once you read it, you understand exactly why this leak is shaking the monarchy. I failed her? I failed them all. She warned me. She begged me to listen, and I stayed quiet. Those are the words reportedly scrawled in Charles's own handwriting, tucked into a dated journal entry from September 1997, just weeks after the Paris crash that claimed Princess Diana's life. And they reveal far more than emotion. They hint at knowledge. For years, Charles has remained relatively silent on Diana's death. Public statements have focused on grief, co-parenting, and respect. But this document feels entirely different. It carries a tone of remorse, yes, but also complicity. Not in the act itself, but in the choices made leading up to it. She said they were watching her, said her car was being followed. She was terrified. I didn't believe her, or I didn't want to. That passage, insiders say, is what triggered panic inside the palace, because it lines up almost exactly with Diana's 1993 letter, in which she warned that there were plans to tamper with her car brakes. That letter was dismissed for years, until now. The confession doesn't mention MI6. It doesn't name names, but it does reveal something just as powerful. That Charles believed Diana feared for her life, and that he chose to remain silent. He stops short of claiming direct knowledge. There's no hard admission of conspiracy, but the wording is deliberate. It circles around responsibility without fully embracing it. I was powerless, but I was not innocent. It's that sentence that royal watchers can't let go of. What did he mean by powerless? Was it the institution, the crown, or something more specific? Someone else pulling the strings? And how does this align with the carefully curated royal image of the last 2 decades? The emotional tone of the letter is a mix of guilt, exhaustion, and a deep sense of being trapped inside a machine too big to stop. But the effect? It's explosive, because no matter how vague, this is the closest Charles has ever come to acknowledging a deeper truth behind Diana's death. And if that's the case, what else has been kept hidden? The new narrative, rewriting Diana's death. For 26 years, the official version of Princess Diana's death has remained largely untouched. A tragic accident in a Paris tunnel caused by a speeding driver and media frenzy. But King Charles's leaked confession changes the tone, and maybe the truth. What once felt like an open and shut case now feels riddled with holes. The line, "She warned me. She begged me to listen, and I stayed quiet," doesn't just express grief. It suggests awareness. It implies that Diana feared something real, and that Charles knew and chose to do nothing. That one sentence has already shattered the boundaries between personal guilt and public suspicion. If Charles believed Diana was being followed or targeted, why didn't he raise alarm? If she feared for her life, why wasn't extra security provided? And perhaps most damning, if she explicitly told him, why was it ignored? Royal insiders are now in full damage control, claiming the confession was emotional reflection, not factual evidence. But the public isn't buying it, because this confession forces a reevaluation of everything we thought we knew: the timing, the decisions, the silences that followed her death. Questions once dismissed as wild speculation now feel eerily plausible. Was Diana denied certain protections? Were palace staff told not to escalate her claims of being watched? Did the royal household, knowingly or not, create the conditions that led to that night? One former palace official told The Guardian anonymously, "There were people who thought Diana exaggerated. But looking back, maybe she knew exactly what she was saying." This confession doesn't say murder. It doesn't confirm a plot, but it reshapes the context of Diana's warnings, making them harder to ignore and far more dangerous to overlook. And now, the question isn't just what happened. It's who knew and why no one acted. And when you combine that confession with past theories, the fire only spreads. The Ghosts of Conspiracy, revisiting theories. For years, royal watchers, whistleblowers, and truth-seekers have questioned the official story. Brake tampering, surveillance, secret services. Those theories were once considered fringe. Now, they're back, with fuel. At the heart of it is Diana's own 1993 letter, reportedly written to her butler, Paul Burrell, in which she warned, "My car is being tampered with. I believe they are planning an accident. Brake failure, serious head injury, to make it look accidental." That letter was dismissed for decades as paranoia. But now, after Charles's alleged admission that she said they were watching her, she was terrified. That letter feels like a prophecy. And Paul Burrell, once accused of profiting from Diana's memory, he's suddenly being re-examined. Some of his claims, both long dismissed, are now being pulled out of archives and looked at with fresh eyes. Did he know more? Or was he trying to tell the world what Diana couldn't? The more people dig, the more uncomfortable the pattern becomes. Claims that MI6 monitored Diana, that she was viewed as a problem for the crown, that decisions were being made about her future that she wasn't part of, all now feel more relevant than ever. One source close to Diana's circle said, "We always felt something was wrong, but we didn't know Charles knew. That changes everything." Still, not all of it is confirmed. No one can say definitively that this was a plot. But the timing of the crash, the broken CCTV cameras, the missing records, and now a confession that hints at regret and responsibility, it's enough to make even skeptics pause. And that pause is dangerous, because once people believe there's more to the story, they'll start demanding it. "We've been lied to," one viral post read. It wasn't just an accident. It was a system that let it happen, and Charles may have been part of it. The conspiracy flames have been reignited, but now, with a royal confession in the mix, they're no longer just smoke. Charles's inner turmoil exposed. This leak didn't just damage King Charles's image, it cracked open his most private, buried emotions. For decades, Charles has carried the weight of Diana's death in a way the public never fully saw. He appeared stoic, measured, always behind the shadow of the late Queen's composure. But now, for the first time, his own words reveal a man haunted. "I failed her. I failed them all." That single sentence says more than any interview he's ever given. The tone isn't political, it's not sanitized. It's personal, deeply human. And that's exactly why it feels so damning. In the leaked journal entry, reportedly dated just weeks after Diana's funeral, Charles doesn't simply grieve, he unravels. He writes of feeling powerless, of being surrounded by a machine too large to stop, and of not knowing who to trust. It's a portrait of a man trapped between two lives, father and future king, and seemingly failing at both. He describes nightmares, sleepless nights, a line about looking at William and Harry and knowing they'll never see me the same way again. It's a father confessing something he never meant for them or the world to hear. "Her voice is still in my head." Every day, the tone is one of guilt, yes, but also of fear. Fear that the truth would eventually rise. Fear that one day his silence would be louder than any denial. What makes the leak so devastating isn't just the content. It's the fact that it was never meant to be read. This wasn't damage control. It wasn't an official statement. It was raw, unfiltered grief. And now the entire world is watching him bleed. And whether or not he's guilty of anything more than regret, the truth remains. This confession was always going to surface. Maybe not this year. Maybe not in his lifetime. But someone, somewhere, made sure it wouldn't stay buried. And now all eyes are on who let it out, and why now. The leaker's motive and power play. The most pressing question inside the palace right now isn't what was said, it's who leaked it. Because whoever did it didn't just break royal protocol. They detonated a royal crisis bomb with near-surgical precision. And that kind of move isn't made by accident. It's made with intention. Multiple sources claim the leak came from within palace walls. Not an outsider, not a hacker, but someone who had direct access to private journals archived after Queen Elizabeth's passing, which narrows the suspect list and raises the stakes. Was it revenge? A longtime staffer pushed out during Charles's reign? A disillusioned aide who disagreed with the Crown's efforts to whitewash Diana's legacy? Or is this palace politics at its most ruthless? A quiet warning shot from inside, maybe even tied to tensions between Camilla's camp and those still loyal to the memory of Diana. Some insiders whisper about a deep crack forming in the king's inner circle. With Charles's health under pressure and Camilla's public image slipping, power struggles have reportedly intensified. In that environment, a leak this explosive could serve two purposes: exposing guilt and weakening Charles's grip. This wasn't just about revealing truth, one royal watcher told The Times. It was about reclaiming the narrative. And then there's the darker theory, that the leak came from outside the UK. A well-timed document passed to a foreign outlet, designed to bypass Britain's strict media laws before being picked up and reposted everywhere. That kind of coordination takes resources and motivation. Who benefits most? Tabloids profit. Anti-monarchists rejoice. But the real winners may be those inside the system, who want to force change from within. Because now, the palace is on the defensive. Scrambling, reactive, and for the first time in years, off balance. Whoever the leaker is, they've exposed more than Charles's guilt. They've revealed the fragile state of the crown itself. And if this was just the first shot, the palace may need to brace for what comes next. Palace's damage control strategy. The moment the leak hit the headlines, Buckingham Palace snapped into emergency mode. Within hours, aides were called into an unscheduled crisis meeting. Phones were confiscated. Internal emails were locked down. And by the afternoon, a carefully worded public statement was released. The document in question appears to be heavily altered and taken out of context. His Majesty has no further comment at this time, but insiders say the panic behind the scenes was anything but composed. Lawyers were activated. Royal communications teams worked through the night. PR firms with deep ties to the monarchy were brought in to craft counter-narratives, all aimed at spinning the story away from guilt and back toward grief. Some advisors pushed to label the leak as fake. Others advised a limited truth strategy, admitting Charles was emotional, distraught, and reflective after Diana's death, but denying any actual knowledge of danger or wrongdoing. The next morning, select journalists received clarification briefings meant to steer coverage away from accusations and toward a grieving father overwhelmed with regret. But the strategy was too late. The leak had already gone viral, and screenshots don't forget. At the same time, counter-leaks began appearing in pro-palace outlets. Anonymous sources claimed the journal was forged by a disgruntled staffer, or never even part of the official royal archives. Yet, not one denial directly refuted the key phrases at the center of the firestorm. I was powerless, but I was not innocent. The palace's refusal to clarify that line only made things worse. They also made the strategic decision to keep Charles off camera. No surprise appearances. No scheduled statements. Instead, Camilla and Prince William were quietly positioned at public events, smiling, steady, and far from scandal. But the public saw through it. Every redirection attempt looked like spin. Every vague quote from an official source felt like cover-up. And every minute of silence from Charles only deepened the perception of guilt. This isn't damage control, it's a containment effort, said one royal expert. And it's not working. Because while the palace tried to hold the line, the media and the public were already rewriting the story. Public and media firestorm. The media didn't just report on the leak, they ignited it. Within minutes of the first screenshot appearing online, headlines across the globe exploded. Every major outlet, from BBC, The Guardian, and CNN to tabloids like The Sun and the Daily Mail, jumped in with blazing urgency. Charles's private guilt over Diana leaked. the sentence that changes royal history. I was not innocent. King's handwritten confession sparks uproar. Social media went nuclear. On X, formerly Twitter, the hashtag #CharlesKnew trended globally within 2 hours. TikTok creators uploaded emotional breakdowns of the leaked phrases, paired with vintage Diana clips. One video, overlaying "I failed her" with footage of Diana's final days, hit 12 million views overnight. And in the comments, rage, sadness, vindication. We believed her all along. This isn't grief. This is guilt. He let her die, and now he admits it. Not everyone turned on Charles, but even his supporters struggled. Many were caught between defending a monarch and accepting a long-hidden truth. For some, it reopened wounds they thought had healed. Tabloids leaned into the drama, calling it the confession that shook the crown. Broadsheets took a more cautious tone, but even they couldn't ignore the weight of Charles's own words. Across breakfast tables, news desks, and phones everywhere, the same questions were being asked. Why now? What else is hidden? And how could the king stay silent for this long? The palace's attempts at redirection, soft focus Camilla stories, royal baby distractions, even scheduled charity events couldn't compete. Every new quote or royal sighting was instantly reframed through one lens: Diana's death and Charles' guilt. And this wasn't just playing out in the UK. International headlines hit harder. American networks framed the leak as the beginning of the end for public trust in the monarchy. French outlets revisited the Paris crash, this time with fresh suspicion. Australian talk shows debated whether the royal institution could survive the truth. And the worst part? It's not slowing down. The only way out of this, one PR analyst warned, is either total honesty or a complete cover-up that sticks, and neither is guaranteed to work. With trust eroding and pressure mounting, the monarchy faces a new kind of crisis. Not just political or personal, but existential. The consequences for the monarchy. The leak wasn't just a scandal, it was a strike at the heart of the monarchy's credibility. For years, the public has accepted a version of history that painted Diana's death as a tragic accident and Charles as a grieving ex-husband. But now, that image is unraveling. For the king, this changes everything. The monarchy relies on tradition, on legacy, but most of all, on trust. And this confession, whether fully authentic or not, has chipped away at that trust in a way no other controversy has. It's not just about Charles's personal guilt. It's about the institution's silence, about what was kept behind palace walls for over 2 decades, and about the possibility that those closest to Diana never got the full truth. Already, calls are growing louder to reopen inquiries into Diana's death. Members of Parliament are being pressured to push for transparency. Legal voices are suggesting that if Charles knew something, anything, about the risks Diana faced and failed to act, that may not just be morally questionable. It may be something more. Some are even calling for a full public inquiry, not just into the crash, but into the royal family's handling of Diana's security, concerns, and final months. But beyond the legal noise, the emotional fallout is deeper. Prince William and Prince Harry now face a chilling question. What did their father know, and when did he know it? If they read those same words the world did, they're not just dealing with grief. They're dealing with betrayal. And whatever bond the family still had behind the scenes may never be the same. The crown has weathered many storms, but this one hits differently. It's personal, it's raw, and it reopens a wound that was never allowed to fully heal. The monarchy can try to move forward, but it's no longer just about moving past the past. It's about whether that past is finally catching up, and if the institution, in its current form, can survive it. The cliffhangers and what to watch next. The confession may have leaked, but the story is far from over. In fact, many believe the real storm hasn't even begun. Behind the palace gates, the fear isn't just about what's already been exposed, it's about what still hasn't. Insiders say there are more documents, more journals, possibly more recordings. And if one page found its way out, what's stopping the rest? Whoever released the first piece of Charles's private confession may have more, and they may be waiting for the palace's next move before striking again. There's also growing speculation that someone else inside the royal circle is preparing to speak. A former security official, a former aide, or even someone from Diana's own side. Someone who's kept silent for years, but no longer sees a reason to protect the legacy of a system that never protected her. Questions now swirl about whether Diana's original inquest could be reopened. Some lawmakers are already suggesting it. The public appetite is strong, and every day that passes without a direct address from King Charles only feeds that momentum. There's pressure building not just for answers, but for justice. And this time, silence won't be enough. Then there's the family. How will Prince William respond, if at all? Will Prince Harry speak publicly, especially with his memoir still fresh in public memory? And what role will Camilla play, knowing her name is being pulled into the firestorm again, whether fairly or not? There are whispers of internal splits, of shifting alliances, of more than one royal aide preparing their own legal protection in case this spirals further. Every corner of the palace is now under scrutiny, from press offices to security details to archival staff. And the biggest unknown of all, will King Charles say anything? Or will he let this moment define him in silence? Right now, the world is watching, waiting, not just for another leak, but for a reckoning. One that may finally change the way the monarchy is seen and how it survives the truth. The monarchy may try to contain it, but the damage is done. Charles's leaked confession has reopened old wounds, reignited public doubt, and shaken royal credibility to its core. As pressure builds for answers, one thing is clear. Diana's story isn't over. And now, neither is the king's reckoning.